Alright everybody, what's going on? It's Thundershot, and we are back with more Dragon Ball Xenoverse gameplay, and today we're going to be talking about Supers and Ultimates and my thoughts on them and how they work, and I guess I'll just kick it off with this. Let's start with Super Struggles, Super Attack Struggles, Ultimate Attack Struggles. Now as far as the beta goes, there were none. Plain and simple, there were not any there. The reason that we have hope for this, the reason that even though it wasn't in the beta, I can't show you any footage of beam struggles or anything like that, is because one, they opened like the first Xenoverse trailer that came out. It was either gameplay, I don't think it was gameplay, but one of the first Xenoverse trailers that came out, they mentioned specifically beam clash struggles and energy wave struggles and stuff like that. They show Goku and Vegeta having their beam struggle in a trailer, so that's obviously supposed to be a main focus. On top of that, I believe it was at E3. There's so many conventions anymore. I'm pretty sure it was E3. They said that they were doing their best to get that into the game. Now, obviously, I put beta in the title of all my stuff. I call it a beta all the time, but realistically, and this might deserve its own video at a later time, this wasn't a beta at all. It would be iffy to call this an alpha. This was simply a network test designed to test the stress of their servers, see how hard or how much their servers could hold, how much they need to improve, obviously, just to get them set up. This test was more for them than it was for us, although they did have a feedback section. But the main point of this, it was not a beta, it was not an alpha, like I mentioned in the video yesterday that I did with Rhyme Style and Omega. It was a stress test, so we didn't get to see a lot of this game on purpose because the point wasn't to show us a lot of this game. The point was to test their stuff, make sure that they were, or could be ready to go. But we're hoping to see Beam Clash struggles, and I was starting to think, how would they do this? Would Dimps do it differently than we've seen in the past? And I think that would be kind of neat, because obviously Ultimate Tenkaichi was just a rock, paper, scissors game. Raging Blast 2, there were button mashings, there were rollings of the stick, depending on one or two, which one you were playing. You could roll the stick or button mash or whatever. It's been different in past games. Could we see a roll the dice feature for who wins a beam struggle? Like Goku Kamehameha Waves versus Vegeta's Gallic Gun. Could we see, like I said, a roll the dice feature? Could it come down to who has more ki? Could it come down to who has more health at the time may have a favorable chance to win in some cases? I don't know. There's a lot of options here for how this could... Maybe who fired first would have an advantage as opposed to someone who fired right before the beam hit them in the face or something like that. I don't know. It could vary. I actually want you guys' opinion on this. Leave your comments, obviously, in the comment section down below. Let me know how you think it should be. Should it be like Raging Blast 2 where you have to roll the stick, where you have to mash buttons as fast as you can? Should it be like Ultimate Tenkaichi Rock, Paper, Scissors? Should it come down to if you have more ki energy stored up, then obviously you should have more ki to push into your super attack, thus allowing you to win? I think that would be really interesting if they took that route. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about that. One thing before I move on, off the top of my head, I think of Earth to Sailor, because like a lot of you people don't know who he is, but he was my roommate in college. He's a really, really good friend of mine. He's been on my channel a few times, and I was, or am now at least, hands down better than him at Raging Blast 2. Just, there's no bones about it. I still play it on occasion. He hasn't played it in a long time. This is actually his game that I have, that I record with when I record Raging Blast 2 stuff. I am hands down better than him at Raging Blast 2. Right now I can mop the floor with him. However, I am a fairly good button masher. I can hold my own against almost anybody. He is one of the best button mashers I've ever seen in the history of a video game. So even though I'm an experienced Raging Blast 2 player, even though I know what I'm doing, if we beam struggle, he will beat me 9 times out of 10. There's nothing about that. It's not that he's good at Raging Blast 2, it's just that he just happens to be really good at pushing buttons very fast, or rolling the stick very fast, or whatever. Does that mean he should be better than me at every single beam struggle? That's why I kind of hope they get away from the Raging Blast 2 one personally, but that's just myself. Anyways, moving on. Super attacks and ultimate attacks. So, super attacks, when they would collide, typically the super attack you would see, they would have to be beam super attacks, which was a lot of them, but it would be like a double Sunday versus a Kamehameha Wave. They would cancel each other out. Vegeta's Gallic Gun versus a Kamehameha Wave or double Sunday or whatever, they would cancel each other out. Typically, that's what most super attacks were just straight beam shots. Krillin had a Kamehameha Wave that went up in the air and came back down. And if your beam hit Krillin's Kamehameha Wave before it went up in the air, they would cancel each other out. So it kind of played how you would expect it to, assuming that there weren't beam struggles in it. Ultimates, however, were a little bit different because there was the Super Kamehameha Wave, which is just a Kamehameha Wave. I get yelled for that. I get yelled at for that all the time. And there was Special Beam Cannon, and in theory, you would think those would collide kind of, except the Beam Cannon's never... I don't think the Beam Cannon's ever been able to collide with anything in DBZ games. I know it couldn't in Raging Blast 2. But, yeah, the Beam Cannon, there was the Hell Zone Grenade, which isn't something that can collide with anything else. And then there was what am I trying to think of? Oh, it's called the Great Storm. It's also been known as Volcano Explosion, or as I called it the entire day, Napa Bomb or Napa Cannon. But it was just the explosion from underneath, and you could blow up everything in the area, and it was awesome. Now, my personal experience with this, and it took me almost the whole day to figure it out, was, well, I guess I should break it down first. So, you have your key meter, which is the yellow meter in the upper left-hand corner. That controls, obviously, how much key you have, but your key blast will drain your key meter. Also, super attacks will drain your key meter. Super attacks will take 1 bar away from your key meter. Ultimate will take 3. You could charge up your key meter if you used a specific super attack to charge it up, or simply by fighting and or taking damage, your key meter will fill itself. So, if you had an ultimate and you were using an ultimate against an opponent, there's another bar that comes into effect here. So the bar just below the key meter is your stamina bar. This bar gets drained for things like flying around or blocking. If you choose to block an attack, it will drain your stamina bar before it will drain your health. If your stamina bar is empty, your health will start going down from a super or ultimate attack. But as long as you have stamina in there, you should be okay, depending on how much the ultimate attack is going to do to you and whatnot. So from my experience, whoever fired their ultimate, if 2 people were about to fire their ultimates off each other, whoever fired their ultimate off last won. And it didn't matter if this was Special Beam Cannon, Napa Explosion. Hellzone Grenade's kind of a different story because you can't really move when you're in the Hellzone Grenade. But out of those 2, and I don't know if I like that or not. It almost made it too easy. Once I figured it out and nobody else knew, or some people who were fighting didn't know yet, I would, instead of trying to block or get out of the way of a Special Beam Cannon or get away from a Napa Explosion, I would wait until the blast or beam was about to hit me, and then I would shoot my ultimate off, and almost every time it would do an insane amount of damage to them because they couldn't block between the time that their ultimate move ended and the time that my beam got to them. There was just no way that they could block. So once I figured that out, the game got a lot easier for me to beat people online, but I really hope that that's not the way it is in the final release. Also, another thing I noticed is if you are using an ultimate such as the Napa Bomb or the Great Storm, when you get hit with a super or ultimate attack, or even someone punching you, usually, and again, I don't know if this was part of a glitch or if I just failed to see it correctly, but usually what would happen is it would drain your stamina bar as if you were blocking. So it almost would protect. So if you fired your blast off last, you got hit with the full brunt of it, but it would drain from your stamina bar first, almost as if you were blocking while using a super attack. And that whole system seems kind of iffy to me. Once I figured it out, it was easy, but once everyone figures it out, it's not going to be nearly as easy. But that whole system seems a little iffy, a little out there. Part of me thinks that if you shoot off an ultimate and somebody else's ultimate hits you first, you should be knocked out of your ultimate. Like, you shouldn't get to finish yours and hurt them because you used yours last, if that makes any sense. So I'm hoping they kind of sort that out. Anyways, I'm kind of wondering what you guys' thoughts on this whole thing are, if anything that I've said makes any sense. I'm sorry if I'm being really out there and incoherent and all that stuff, but I think that's going to do it for me today. Like I said, I want to know what you guys think about super attack beam struggles, how you think that should be, and I want to know if you think they should fix the system they have for ultimates right now or not. And before I go today, I'm going to link you guys to Anime Games Online's video in the description down below, where he actually he shows specifically, I have gameplay in the background, but he shows specifically what happens when 2 supers hit each other, what happens when 2 ultimates go off at the same time and try to collide with each other. High-speed clashes when you're throwing punches and kicks, like you gain blocking or stamina and ki back when you do that, and you flip off those. So yeah, his link is going to be in the description down below. You guys can go check out that video. Tell him Thundershot sent you if you feel like it. But that's going to wrap it up for me, guys. I want to thank you guys for coming out. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you like the video. Subscribe if you're new around here. And I think what's going to happen tomorrow is, well, not tomorrow. Eventually, I'm going to do a 3 versus 3 breakdown, what I thought of those fights and how, what I think you should do, perhaps tips or whatever, but what I thought of 3v3 fights. I'll get to 2v2s, a couple other topics I want to get to, and then I'm also going to be bringing you guys Xenoverse live comms within the next few days of me fighting certain people. So I'll leave it at that. But anyways, thanks for coming out. Hope you guys enjoyed. Anime Games Online's video in the description down below. I'm Thundershot, and I'm out. Peace, guys.